When you're designing equipment for bioprocessing, or say heavy-duty dairy washdown environments, look, a single microscopic flaw can literally shut down your entire production line. We are talking massive stakes here. A design might look perfectly functional structurally, but it can be a catastrophic failure in hygiene, harboring these invisible threats that, honestly, ruin products and completely tank reputations.
Welcome back, design junkies, to Mechanical Engineering Made Simple. If the podcast brings you value, help support the show with a like, a follow, or leave a comment below. So let's dive into this. Why exactly do perfectly structurally sound machines fail so often in the food industry? Well, it's because sanitary design operates by an entirely different set of rules.
Here is the golden rule, and you really need to memorize this from day one. Everything must be cleanable, inspectable, and incapable of harboring bacteria. That's the absolute baseline for our explainer today. As engineers, we've got to shift our mindset away from just making sure a machine holds together to absolutely guaranteeing that nothing can hide on it.
And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Take a look at the spoon on the left and contrast it with the fork on the right. A smooth, continuous surface like that spoon, it's inherently hygienic, super easy to sanitize. But those tines on the fork, those represent dangerous, hard-to-clean crevices. That's exactly where biofilms can take root and just completely survive your cleaning cycles. Your job as an engineer is simple. Design spoons, not forks.
Which brings us to the ultimate enemy of sanitary design, the dead leg. Now, a dead leg is essentially any area or crevice, whether it's in a piping system or a piece of equipment, where fluid gets trapped and just sits stagnant. It's an absolute breeding ground for microorganisms, mainly because your cleaning fluids just can't flush it out. Eliminating these, that's your core mission.
All right, let's look at Section 1, the base layer, materials of construction.
Before we even get into shapes and geometry, we've got to talk about what materials are actually acceptable to have on your workbench for these high-stakes applications. Just notice the sheer number of boxes a material has to check here. It has to be inert, non-toxic, non-corrosive, smooth, durable, and completely impervious. This right here is exactly why 304 or 316L series stainless steel is the undisputed industry standard. It perfectly satisfies these insanely strict physical and mechanical requirements, all while enduring the harsh chemical sanitizers that get sprayed on it every single day.
But listen, here is a hard, non-negotiable rule you've got to follow. Plated, painted, and coated surfaces, they are strictly prohibited for food contact. No exceptions. Why? Because composites, plastics, and thin coatings degrade over time. They flake off, they change shape, and they fundamentally alter their structure under thermal or chemical stress. When that happens, they hide contamination right beneath the surface. Moving on to Section 2, the micro-battleground, mastering sanitary welds. Okay, let's transition to the geometry of hygiene. Now, this is exactly where a lot of traditional structural engineers stumble. Mastering sanitary welds is an entirely different ballgame, and honestly, it's one of the most highly searched topics online for a very good reason. In a washdown environment, a weld isn't just about structural strength, it's about hygienic continuity. Proper sanitary welds must be flush ground or slightly convex, almost always done via full penetration TIG welding. Contrast that with your standard structural defects like overlap or undercut. Those instantly create microscopic hiding spots. Let's talk specifically about the danger of concavity. If your weld profile is concave, you inadvertently create what I call a microtrench right at the toe of the weld. Now sure, it might hold together under pressure, but your cleaning solution simply cannot reach deep into that trench. It essentially acts as a permanent safe harbor for bacterial biofilms.
And once you ensure full penetration and grind that weld completely flush, you're still not done. The surface finish has to meet strict requirements. Specifically, R sub A is less than 0.8 micrometers. This exact average surface roughness is absolutely mandatory to prevent soil adhesion and guarantee the surface is fully cleanable.
But it's not just the microscopic finish, right? The macro geometry matters just as much. Everything, and I mean everything, must be free draining by gravity. That means self-draining angles must be greater than 3 degrees. Absolutely no flat pooling areas are allowed anywhere on the equipment. Furthermore, sharp internal corners, completely banned. They must be replaced with generous radii of at least 3 millimeters to stop any sort of buildup.
Next up, Section 3, the vulnerability points, navigating seals and pumps.
We really need to navigate the complexities of moving parts here.
Because old-school structural methods, like stuffing box packing on rotating shafts, are completely obsolete, not to mention incredibly dangerous in this context. Take a look at this cross-section of a hygienic radial centripetal pump. Pay real close attention to the mechanical seal right there on the shaft. Modern pumps like this have to be designed to be entirely gap-free and dead space-free. The sealing point has to be positioned directly adjacent to the bulk fluid flow so that it actually gets washed properly during the cleaning cycle.
So an absolutely crucial point here is avoiding what I like to call the thermal expansion trap. Engineers will often try to improve cleanability by installing elastomers, like O-rings, into extremely tight grooves. Makes sense on paper, right? But elastomers expand significantly faster than stainless steel when exposed to heat, so during a hot washdown cycle, that tight O-ring suffers from chemical swell and thermal expansion. It literally extrudes right out of its groove, creating the exact crevice you were trying to avoid in the first place.
Here's another masterclass example for you, the hygienic diaphragm pump. This design is brilliant because it completely isolates the sensitive product flow from the complex reciprocating mechanical mechanisms. It basically creates a closed, fully drainable system that inherently protects the fluid, a real game changer.
And finally, Section 4, the proof, CIP validation and testing.
All right, we've talked plenty about how to design it, but now you have to prove it. You absolutely must prove to the industry that your designs actually work in the real world. And this is exactly how you do it, the Clean in Place, or CIP, riboflavin test. It's simple but highly effective. Step 1. You coat all internal surfaces with a highly fluorescent riboflavin solution, basically vitamin B2. Step 2. You run your automated CIP wash cycle. And Step 3. You completely disassemble the equipment and inspect every square inch with a UV blacklight. A truly sanitary design will leave absolutely zero glowing residue, none, even deep inside those O-ring grooves and behind the seals.
And what about the outside of your equipment, the part facing that harsh washdown environment? Well, the ultimate benchmark for survival there is achieving an IP69K rating. This means your external housing and seals can withstand direct, high-pressure water jets up to 80 bar at blazing temperatures up to 80 degrees Celsius without letting a single drop inside the enclosure.
Remember, design junkies, master the critical few or the trivial many will master you. If you're leaving this episode with something you didn't arrive with, drop a comment. It takes you a few seconds, but it tells me this workbench is worth keeping open. So I'll leave you with this. Take a look at the equipment currently sitting on your factory floor. How many hidden microtrenches are compromising your product right now?